let your parents see your browsing history? Because one time, I was trying to find this song that I couldn't remember the title of, so I typed the only lyrics I remembered into Google. But these lyrics happened to be very weird, and this is how they went. If you was my sister, then I would kiss you. And I made the mistake of not clearing out my browsing history once I found the song, because a couple days later, my mom asked if she could look something up on my computer, so I let her. And right as she typed the letter I into Google, it showed my previous search, which was, if you were my sister, I would kiss you. So when she saw this, she was like, Tyler, why would you Google this? And I was like, Mom, it's not what it looks like. I can explain. But then she goes, actually, you know what? Don't even tell me. I don't want to know. But I was like, Mom, no, I promise it's not as weird as it sounds. But I could tell she didn't believe me. So now I'm pretty sure that she thinks I want to kiss my sister, and I don't even have. One thing older people will never understand about Gen Z is how we can have two completely different conversations with each other at the same time on different apps. Because I was texting my mom on iMessage about how I just failed my math test, and she was like, Tyler, I'm so disappointed in you. But then on another app, I saw a funny video of a cat biting their owner's leg, so I sent it to my mom, and I said, this is totally something our cat would do. Ha ha ha. But after I said that, she responded by saying, are you sending me this video like you didn't just text me saying you're failing math? But like, what parents don't understand is that when you're having two different conversations on different apps, they're not supposed to mix. Like, I'm a completely different person texting on one app than I am on another. So when my mom brought our iMessage conversation into the DMs, it was like she broke the fourth wall. I didn't even know you could do it. The worst part about Thanksgiving is the fact that your parents force you to eat leftovers for the next month. Because I like Thanksgiving food, but it gets to a point when you're on day 12 of eating turkey and collard greens for breakfast where you don't want it anymore. But last year was the worst because we had a couple people in our family who couldn't make it to Thanksgiving, so we had a lot of leftovers. And I knew my mom was gonna make us eat all of them, but I found a hack to overcome this. All you have to do is put the leftover Thanksgiving food on a King's Hawaiian roll and make sliders with them. Like, I just made two different types of sliders with it right now. One sweet and one savory. This is the only way I eat Thanksgiving food now because you can customize these rolls in whatever way you want. So you don't have to eat the exact same thing for 12 days after Thanksgiving. If you have lots of leftovers from Thanksgiving, trust me, try this. This is your warning to never be friends with short people. Because I used to have a roommate that was super short, and on the first day we moved in together, he went to the store and bought a bunch of food, but he left all of his groceries on the counter when he got home because he had to go to work. So he texted me asking if I could put them away, and I was like, yeah, do you care where I put them? And he was like, no, just put them wherever there's space. But this was a big mistake because a couple months later, I go into the kitchen one morning, but something smelled weird. So I start looking around trying to find what it is. I open one of the cabinets and find a bunch of potatoes with this gross white goo on them. Now, I've never bought potatoes, so I knew they were my roommates, and I asked him why he didn't eat them, but he was like, I was looking for those forever, but I couldn't find them because you put them in the very top cabinet where I can't reach it. So honestly, it was my fault, but still, we need to put a ladder in the kitchen or something. Oh, you think girls have it harder than guys? Well, one time, I was on a hike by myself, and I see these girls like 20 yards in front of me scream and then stare at something on the ground. So as I get closer, I realized they were looking at a snake, but they were afraid to walk past it because the path was pretty narrow, and they didn't want the snake to bite them. So when I got there, they asked me if I could move the snake, and I was like, are you kidding me? That thing could be poisonous. And they were like, yeah, but you're a man, you can do it. So then I said, I'm probably more scared of snakes than you guys are. Besides Jojo Siwa, snakes are literally my biggest fear. So I just tried making any excuse possible to not move that snake. I was like, well, I'm actually allergic to poisonous snakes. And the girl was like, yeah, no duh, everyone is allergic to poison. So eventually, I just had to man up, and I got a really long stick and flung that thing off the path. Honestly, girls do probably still have it harder than us, but still, I'm scared of snakes too. Does anyone else get more jealous when your friend talks to another person than when your crush does? Like, what do you mean you have other friends beside me? Because I was scrolling through social media the other day, and I see one of my friends post a story of them at a Bad Bunny concert. So I swipe up on it, and I'm like, oh, did you go with your family to the concert? But they said, no, I went with some friends. So I start twitching a little bit, and I'm like, well, if you were going with friends, why didn't you invite me? And he was like, Tyler, it was a Bad Bunny concert. You don't even like him. And I was like, what? I love Bad Bunny. And he was like, Tyler, you don't even speak any Spanish. Stop acting like you listen to Bad Bunny. And he was right, but still, I would have liked an invite. That was part of the reason I get so upset because he's my only friend and I don't want to lose him. That's not the point. People will always try to make it seem like they aren't wealthy because I went to school with a guy who would wear the same thing every day. A black t-shirt with jeans. Nothing special, right? Well, one day, we're in class and he's eating blueberries, but he drops one onto his shirt and stains it. So he immediately pulls out his phone, goes online, and buys the new black shirt. But you know how much the shirt was? $900. It was a plain black Prada t-shirt. What's the point of spending that much money on a plain t-shirt? I could get one that looks the exact same from Walmart for 40 quarters. But this isn't surprising because this is the same guy who brought a water bottle to school every day from a company called Berg. But he's the only person I've ever seen drink this water. So I Google it, and guess what? It's $45 per bottle. Apparently, it comes straight from the icebergs of Greenland. Dog, mine just comes straight from the tap. I want to be rich so bad. Why do couples give each other such weird nicknames? Because there was this couple in my school that first met in our math class, but unfortunately, I sat at the same table as them, so I heard all their conversations. And I am not kidding you when I say the names they called each other made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up from how cringy they were. Like in the beginning, they were still getting comfortable with each other, so they would just use normal nicknames like baby or honey, which isn't weird at all. But as the relationship progressed, they seemed to get more comfortable and they got tired of using those generic nicknames because one day, I pull up to class and the guy is like, "How is my honey barbecue sauce doing?" And the girl responds by saying, "I'm good, my lobster butter." Like at this point, are y'all even calling each other nicknames or are you just really hungry? I was about to just be like, "Hey Big Mac, can I borrow a pencil?" Now am I just hating because I'm single? Yeah. Nobody talks about how embarrassing it is to be the last kid picked up from school. Because at my old school, the teacher wasn't allowed to leave until every student got picked up. But my mom would literally take 3 hours to get me sometimes. So there were days where it would literally be getting dark and it would just be me and the teacher. Literally no one else was left at school. And I could tell the teacher was just so annoyed with me because she wanted to go home already. Like I remember one time, the teacher got so tired of waiting that she asked if I was gonna get my driver's license soon. I was like, well, considering the fact that I'm 11, probably not. Eventually, the teacher realized she was gonna have to stay late every single day because of me, so she just started learning how to knit to pass the time. I was even shivering after school one day, and she gave me a blanket that she knit herself. We low-key kind of became homies. She definitely hated me though. Talking to Gen Alpha kids will make you believe that the next generation is doomed. Because last weekend, I decided to help my friend coach a youth baseball team with kids that are 10 to 12 years old. And my friend warned me about how these kids acted, but I was like, they're 10. How hard can it be? But I regret saying that now because I arrived to the game and immediately one kid got there late, so the coach asked him why he wasn't on time. But before he could answer, one of his teammates responded by saying, he was doing the 3 a.m. challenge with Livy Dunn. I immediately felt like I lost brain cells after hearing that sentence, but this is how they talk the whole time. They would only speak in brain rot terms. Luckily, I'm chronically online, so I know some brain rot too. So to get them to be quiet, I told them we were gonna have a mewing challenge just so I could get them to keep their mouths shut. That was the only thing that actually worked. And we were supposed to have flying cars by now. Never meet your online friends in person. Because there was this person I was friends with on social media since we both watched each other's content. And we talked quite a bit, so eventually they were like, we should meet up in person. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. But this was a big mistake because we planned on meeting each other sometime in 2025. But a couple weeks after we planned it, I opened up social media one day and find out they're on the run from the police because they were involved in their therapist passing away. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, it just must be another internet joke. But then I saw actual news stations reporting it, so I was like, wait, they might have done this. So I called them, no response. Text them, no response. And after a couple days, my text messages went from being blue to green. So I don't know where they're at right now, but I can tell you that we are not meeting in real life anymore. Nobody talks about how scary it is to go to school the day after a substitute leaves a bad note. Because one time, my class had a substitute who was an old lady, but she was super small and not intimidating. So the whole time she would try to teach, everyone would just mess around and talk over her. It got to the point where she had to scream just so everyone would be quiet. But after she did that, she said she'd be leaving our teacher a note about how bad we behaved. So the next day, I walk into the classroom and see a list of 7 names on the whiteboard, but one of them was mine. So the bell rings and the teacher goes, everyone sit down and don't say a word. So we did. Then the teacher says, never in my 35 years of teaching have I gotten a note this bad from a substitute. They left me a list with names of everyone who misbehaved, and all of you who are on it will be staying an hour after class for the next week, writing an apology essay to the sub. So if you have a substitute, just behave. But every person who thinks they would save their school if they had a school shooter, trust me, you would not. Because I used to think the same thing until one day, I was in class and there was an announcement over the speaker saying that someone was walking around campus with a weapon. And at first, I thought it was just another school drill. Until my teacher said, guys, we don't have a drill scheduled today. This is real. And he sounded really nervous saying that. So it was in this moment where I realized I was not built for this. Because you know how they say you either go into fight or flight mode during these situations? Well, I went straight into flight because I ran to the back of the class as far away from the door as possible. I even took this girl's Stanley bottle to use as a shield because those things are basically bulletproof. But after about 5 minutes, there was another announcement that said it was a false alarm and the weapon was fake. Don't get me wrong, I was super relieved, but I also realized I am not Batman! Does anyone else do romantic stuff with their friends on accident? Because the other day, me and my friend had this great idea to get a bunch of different snacks, meet at the park, then put them all in one bowl and eat them. So that's what we did. But as we're at the park eating, I look around and see 2 other people also eating together. But these people were clearly a couple, and then it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh. And then my friend said, what's up? Then I go, dog, are we having a picnic together right now? Then he paused, looked around for a second, and was like, oh my goodness. We are having a picnic, but you can't just randomly have a picnic with your one homie. So after we realized this, we just went straight to the car and ate the rest of the snacks there because it felt way too weird to do it outside anymore. But like, is it normal for homies to have picnics together, or is that off limits? Because it was low-key kind of peaceful. But at the same time, it felt like something you should only do with a person that you're in a relationship with. I need to get a girlfriend. School teachers are so much better at teaching than college professors because I'm in college right now and I have a history professor who does not know how to teach. Like when he's teaching the class, he'll tell us to take notes because we need them for the test, but then he'll refuse to put any slides or notes on the screen. He just reads them from his computer and hopes that we write them down, but the problem is he has a really thick accent that I can't really understand. So when he says something that's not very clear, we'll ask him to repeat it and he'll just be like, no. So I started using an AI note taker called TurboLearn that listens to your professor and takes notes. It literally just listens to what your professor says and then makes notes for you using AI. But then one day, I have my phone on my desk and he gets mad at me for using a phone in class. Like, how are you gonna get mad at me for using technology to do your job? Like, the teachers in high school actually care about the students compared to college. Like, I remember in high school, I used to have a teacher that would give us free ice cream if we got an A on the test. Why can't all teachers be like this? Nobody talks about the difference between how girls make plans versus guys. Because with girls, they make them months in advance. I've met a girl before that had her next 6 months planned out in a calendar, day by day. But for guys, it's way different because my friend recently got married, but we haven't talked a lot the past couple years. So when I saw him post on social media that he proposed to his girlfriend, I wasn't sure if I would get invited to the wedding. So about 6 months went by and I never received an invitation, so I figured I just didn't make the list. But then randomly, I get a phone call from him, so I pick it up and he goes, yo man, long time no see. What are you doing on November 9th? And I was like, November 9th as in tomorrow? And he goes, yeah. So I tell him I'm not doing anything, and then he's like, oh, bet. Well, do you want to come to my wedding? So then I said, aren't you supposed to invite people months in advance? But apparently, the only reason I got an invitation is because someone else couldn't make it, so I just filled the spot. I'll take it though. Free food is free food. I do best friends never take pictures together, because I was talking to this girl the other day, and I was telling her about my friend because I thought they would like each other. But then she said, oh, well, do you have any pictures of him you can show me? So I started looking through my camera roll because I've known him for a while, so I was super confident I had a picture of us together. But after scrolling for about 5 minutes, I only found one picture. And the only reason I had this one was because it's the picture that the Postmates driver takes of you when they deliver your food. I had it saved because the Postmates driver used Flash to take the picture, so we looked terrified and I thought it was super funny. So I had no other option but to show this picture to the girl, and she was like, is that the best pic you got? Then I was like, girl, that's the only pic I got. Keep in mind, we've been friends since 1st grade, yet the only picture I had of us together was one that the Postmates driver took. I hate Christmas for one reason, which is the fact that I don't know how to react to receiving gifts. Like, someone could literally give me a Lamborghini as a present, and this would be my reaction. Oh, nice. And that's not even an exaggeration, because one year on Christmas, I really wanted a specific bike. I told my parents how bad I wanted it for months, but it was really expensive, so they were like, sorry Tyler, but don't expect to get the bike for Christmas. So when Christmas Day came, I ran into the living room to see if there were any big boxes that could have this bike in it, but there weren't any, so I was super sad. Until we all finished opening presents, and my mom said, wait guys, there's one more gift for Tyler. Then she went into the garage and came back with the exact bike I asked for. I was so happy on the inside, but because I'm so bad at reacting to gifts, my parents thought I didn't even like it. So next time I get a gift, this is how I'm gonna be. A screwdriver? No way, Mom and Dad, you guys are the best! Why does asking your friends to hang out feel like begging for spare change? Because I'm pretty sure most of my friends just don't actually like me, since the only time we ever hang out is when I beg them to. But it's not just like a one-time beg. No, I have to ask for days until they get so tired of me doing it that they're just like, damn, fine, I'll hang out with you, just so I stop. And trust me, I would prefer to not do this, but if I stopped, we would never hang out again. And they'll always have an excuse for why they can't hang out, like, oh, I don't have any money. And they'll say this, and the next day, I'll turn on my PlayStation just to see that they bought 12 new skins in Fortnite that cost a combined $200. But I have a theory. I'm convinced they spend all their money on purpose just so they can tell me they don't have any when I ask to hang out. Do my friends actually like me? Gender reveals are going way too far. Because tell me why I just saw one where the couple was in a jacuzzi. So I was thinking the color of their bathing suit would change to blue or pink when they got out or something like that. But no, instead, they count down going 3, 2, 1. And then there's just an awkward silence for a second where no one moves until you slowly start to see the water in the jacuzzi turn pink. They were finding out the gender of their baby by peeing in a jacuzzi. And they were doing it in front of their whole family. There's no way one of them thought of that idea, pitched it to their partner, and they were like, wow, that's a great idea. I'm convinced someone forced them to do this. But somehow, that's not even as bad as another gender reveal I heard about on the news because they used colored fireworks and it started a forest fire. There goes that kid's college fund. Like, why can't y'all just stick to slicing open a cake or something? This is your warning to never share your location with your friend. Because my friend Mikey just started sharing his location with me and I check it like multiple times a day because I'm nosy. But the other day when I looked at it, it said he was in Cuba. But we're American, and he doesn't have a passport, so I was like, how did he get there? So I called him to see what was going on, but no answer. So I wait until the next day and check the location again, but now it's turned off. And later that evening, I get a text from an unknown number that says, hey, it's Mikey. So I'm like, Mikey, what happened to your old phone? Last time I checked, you were in Cuba. But then he told me that while he was at dinner last night, someone stole his backpack that had all his stuff in it, including his phone. Keep in mind, he was in California when this happened. These thieves out here move quick, man. Imagine losing your phone and then checking the location of it it one day later, and it's halfway to Europe. That phone's traveled more than me. Having a different taste in significant others than your friend is great, but also horrible at the same time. It's great because you never fight over the same person. Every girl that I've ever liked, I never had to worry about my friend swooping in and stealing her, and he could have because he actually talks to women. But anyways, the reason it's horrible is because whenever I would like a girl, I would tell my friend about it, and I would be like, bro, I think this girl is my soulmate. She's the prettiest person I've ever seen. And then he would be like, what do you like so much about her? And I would just be like, well, I like her style, I like her personality, I like her smile. But then he would just say something so absurd back to me. He would be like, bro, the girl you like looks like a character from a movie that got bit by a zombie, but is trying to hide it from the rest of the group. Literally a crazy comment like that. And then now every time I'm around this girl, I'm questioning if she's gonna try to bite me and turn me into a zombie too. Like, you just ruined it, man. The people he likes look like their worst fear is vitamin D, but I don't say that to his face. I get it, everyone has their type, but I think we just gotta stop talking about relationships to each other. So if you have a different type than your friend, don't talk to each other about it. Having a brutally honest friend can either be the best experience ever or the worst experience ever. Because I have a friend like this, and one time he went to Europe, so we didn't see each other for a couple of months. And right when he got back, his mom and I picked him up from the airport, and the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, you gained some weight. Dog, you could have just said hello or something. But that's not even the most out-of-pocket thing he's done, because there was another time where I was telling him how I was feeling really sad lately. And in the middle of me confessing this to him, he goes, has anyone ever told you that you have really big pores? No, actually. No one has ever said that to me. Probably because that's not something you say out loud. It's like he can't stop himself from saying every single thought that comes into his mind. But this type of friend is important because he motivates me to be my best self, because if I'm not, I'm terrified of what he'll say. If you go to McDonald's and they tell you that the ice cream machine is broken, they are lying, because one time I went and I asked for an ice cream cone, but they're like, oh, sorry, our machine is broken. And I didn't think anything of it because it's always broken. But then I literally saw another worker walk up to the ice cream machine with a cone, and they filled it up. So what did I do? I pointed this out to the employee that was taking my order, and I was like, it looks like your machine is working just fine. And he just turns around, looks at the employee using the machine, and he goes, all right, I'll get you a cone. What do you mean, all right? You're acting like you didn't just straight up lie to my face. So to all McDonald's employees out there, why do you guys act like the machine's always broken when it's not? Just give me my ice cream. Never go on an airplane if you have a bad feeling about it, because I just had a flight, but for some reason, I was really anxious to get on the plane, and I never am, so that's weird. But I got on anyway because I had to get back home, and the seats were first come, first serve, so I ended up getting stuck in a middle seat between two people. And at first, I thought the people sitting on both sides of me were strangers, but then they started talking to each other, and I realized that they were a couple. Well, Tyler, if they were a couple, why wouldn't they sit next to each other? That's what I was wondering too, so I asked them, I was like, hey, do you guys want to sit next to each other? And they both said no in a pretty nasty tone. So I was like, damn, I get it. Y'all really don't like middle seats. But then I started to understand why they didn't want to sit next to each other as the flight went on. Because the whole time we were in the air, they were just arguing. But I was stuck in the middle of it. I was like a ping pong ball getting bounced in between them. And they were like, I don't like you. No, I don't like you. You never show affection. You're way too needy. All of what they're saying is just going straight into my ears. It was my worst nightmare because it was a 4-hour flight. So I just wanted to sleep, but I couldn't because they were yelling in my ear. But then like halfway through the flight, I was like, are you sure you guys don't want to just sit next to each other? And at the same time, they both go, no! And I'm pretty sure by the end of the flight, they broke up. That's kind of what it sounded like. But yeah, don't do middle seats next to strangers. NZ ruined my relationship with my parents because the other day, I was leaving for a trip, so I wasn't going to see my mom for a couple days. And I gave her a hug and I said, I love you, mommy. But I felt so gross after saying that word because of how Gen Z has changed the meaning of it. It's not a sweet way of saying mother anymore. No, it means some freaky stuff. But I don't even know if my mom is aware of the new meaning. So after I said that, I was just like, oh my gosh, I hope she didn't take that in the wrong way. But it's not just the word mommy. You can't say daddy either. What am I supposed to call my parents at this point? Should I just start going up to them and be like, what's up, gang? Like any other words that mean mom or dad have been ruined. I was in public when I said this too, and I could feel people giving me weird looks after saying it. Y'all act like you didn't call your mom mommy when you were a little kid. There should be nothing wrong with that word. Stop changing the meaning! Have you ever asked your mom if you could hang out with friends, and she responds with the most ridiculous reason why it's not safe to? Like I remember one time, I asked my mom if I could go to the beach with some of my friends, and she literally responded by saying, I don't know if it's safe to with the war going on right now. So I thought about it and I was like, what war is she talking about? So I asked her and she said, the one in Russia. Mama, we live in California. I don't think I'm gonna be in danger going to a beach that's 10,000 miles away from where the war is. But my mom watches the news a lot. So there was another time where I said, hey mom, can I go to the mall with some friends? And she said no, because there was a kid who just passed away at the mall the other day. What she did not mention in that conversation was that the teenager passed away from choking on a corn dog in the food court. I had to convince her to let me go by promising that I wouldn't eat any corn dogs while I was there. Rest in peace to the corn dog kid though. That's a pretty sick way to go out. Does anyone else's personality change based off who they're hanging out with? Like, I will literally be the type of person that goes from saying, "What's up, gang?" to the type of person that says, "Hello, how are you?" depending on the friend group. But I don't even do this on purpose. I just subconsciously change my personality based on who I'm hanging out with. I'm an introvert with some friends, but if you get me around friend group number 2, I'm the loudest one there. Like, I'm even the group leader, you could say. I'm just kidding. I even have one friend group where I have an accent. Like, they genuinely believe that I have family in Australia or something, and that's why I talk like this. But the scary part is that at this point, I don't even know which personality is my real one. Am I a "what's up, gang" person? Or am I a "hello, how are you" type of person? I don't know. Now that I think about it, this kind of sounds like a disorder. Maybe I should go to the doctor. Growing up is crazy because my friend just told me that he got a girl pregnant, and my first reaction was to be like, "Oh my gosh, dude, what are you gonna do?" But when I said that, he looked confused and he was like, "We're gonna raise it?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, I guess you kind of have to, right?" So then he was like, "Why are you saying that like it's a bad thing?" And then I said, "Well, this was obviously a big accident, and your parents are probably gonna freak out when you tell them." But he was like, "Dude, no, we've been trying to have a kid for a couple months. We want to start a family, and my parents are super excited." And that was the moment where I was like, oh yeah, we're getting to the age where people start to have families on purpose. This is terrifying though, because I'm nowhere near close to starting a family. I still live with my parents, dog. So if anyone wants to start a family with me, just let me know. I'm such a failure. Anyone else's friend group literally impossible to make plans with? Like, I genuinely think we're gonna get GTA 6 before my friend group has a day where everyone can hang out. There's always a problem. Tell me why the other day, I asked my friend if they wanted to hang out, and they said they couldn't, but that we should schedule a day in the future too. So I said, okay, what day works for you? And they gave me a date that was in 3 months. Dog, you are unemployed. How are you not available for 3 months? Like, what are you doing that's making you so busy? Climbing Mount Everest? Every time these types of people say they can't hang out, I get the feeling that they're not actually busy and that they just don't want to hang out with me. So they just make up an excuse. If that's the case, just tell me. I can take it. But if somehow plans actually do get made, they always cancel the day of. And they always have the worst excuses why. They'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I can't go. I have to babysit my nephew." First of all, you don't have a nephew. Second of all, ain't no one letting you babysit a baby. I'm really convinced this just happens because they don't want to hang out. It happens a lot, by the way. Ever give a stranger a compliment? Because I was just at the mall and I saw this guy that had a really fancy jacket on and it was red and gold. So I gave him a compliment on the jacket. But after I did this, he gave me a really nasty look and I didn't understand why until I realized what I just said. Because the day before this, I watched the Shrek movie and the jacket that this guy was wearing really made me think of this king's jacket from the movie. So the compliment that I told him was, "Hey, I really like your jacket. It makes you look like the king from Shrek." But now I know why he gave me a nasty look after saying that. Because after he gave me the look, I heard him say, "I'm not even that short." So this made me realize that he thought I was saying that he looked like Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Because he's the main king in the movie, so that's definitely who this guy thought I was talking about. If you see this, bro, that is not who I was comparing you to. I'm sorry. I just hope he wasn't thinking about what I said for the rest of the day, because if someone told me that I look like Lord Farquaad, I would never leave my house again. You ever had a friend that apologizes for literally everything? Like, even when it's not their fault, they're apologizing. Like, my friend is allergic to shellfish, right? So every time we go out to eat, he asks the waiter if the food has shellfish in it. And one time we went to a restaurant and the waiter was like, "No, there's no shellfish in our food." But then they brought out our meals and my friend starts eating, but then all of a sudden, he starts coughing really hard and he's not able to breathe. So he gets his EpiPen out and uses it. And the waiter sprints over to our table and they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just talked to the kitchen and they said that our sauce has shellfish in it." But then my friend was like, "Oh my gosh, no, I'm so sorry. I was making such a big scene in front of the whole restaurant." Dog, you just got poisoned and you're apologizing for it. I don't get it. But an even crazier situation is that one day, this same friend was riding his bike and he literally got hit by a car because the person was on their phone and not paying attention to the road. Luckily, my friend was okay, but after he got hit, he literally got up, looked at the car and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I left such a big dent in your car." That dent is literally your forehead from when they slammed into you. That is not your fault. But he still apologized, and even the driver was confused. He probably thought that my friend had a brain injury from getting hit. Anyone else feel like there's no good entertainment anymore? Like, shows don't hit the same, movies don't hit the same, games don't hit the same. But I always wonder if it only feels like this because we're getting older. I don't think that's the case though, because there are still some games that I enjoy playing. Like, I love playing Block Blast still. This game still scratches that itch in my brain. Block Blast makes blocks fun again. This game is one of the few things I actually still enjoy playing and don't get tired of, because not only is it fun, but it's a really good way to train your brain. And this might be a hot take, but I feel like most of the entertainment that we consume these days literally makes me less smart. Like, I never understood what people meant when they used the word brain rot, but I get it now because almost everything on the internet is brain rot. I know this sounds weird, but I've always wished I could just take my brain out of my head and clean it. That sounds like it would fix all my problems. But since I can't do that, the next best thing I can do is play Block Blast. You can download Block Blast in the App Store. But good luck beating my high score. Why do girls never make the first move? Like the other day, this girl was telling me about how she was super nervous to ask this guy out, and I was like, why? And she said, because I'm scared of getting rejected. And I was like, you do realize that guys will not reject girls, right? Guys are desperate. I mean, the other day, I dropped my wallet on the ground, and this girl simply just picked it up and gave it back to me, and I instantly fell in love with her. Why did I not tell her that? Because she was like 70 years old. But that's besides the point. The point is that guys are not used to getting attention like that. So when we do, we're attached to you like this. Ladies, I'm not kidding. The next time you see a man that you're even slightly attracted to in public, ask for his number. This is how the interaction will go. Hey, I thought you were really cute. Do you think I could get your number? Yes. Do you want to marry me? Now, am I saying this because I'm scared to approach women, so I just want them to approach me? That's not important, actually. Never accept free samples from anywhere, because the other day, I was at the mall, and this girl comes up to me and says, "Sir, your face is very nice, but you have big bags under your eyes. Let me help. I have collagen cream for you." So I was like, "Oh, no thank you." But then she was like, "I give you free sample. Come, come." And I really didn't want to go with her, but I knew that she wouldn't just take no for an answer. So I had to think of an excuse as to why I couldn't use the cream. But for some reason, the first excuse that popped into my mind was to just be like, sorry, I can't use that. I have AIDS." And she just kind of stopped, looked at me for a second, and then was like, "That's okay. You can use this with AIDS." So I just ended up trying the sample, but the worst part is that one, she thinks I have AIDS now, and two, she practically forced me to buy this $200 collagen. She was like, "You took free sample, now you buy bottle. This thing better at least work, man." Not many things in life that can embarrass me, except for the one time when I was in a public bathroom and I had to go number 2 really bad, but I was constipated. So I went to the biggest stall I could find because I knew I was gonna be in there for a while, so I wanted to be really comfortable. But as I'm in the stall using this toilet, I hear someone shake on the door and I say, "Occupied." But I can hear them breathing, so I know they were still standing right next to the door. So I look under the stall to see their feet, and what do I see? A wheelchair. Right in that moment, it hit me. I was in the only handicap stall in the bathroom, and this guy had to wait until I wasn't constipated anymore to use it. I didn't know what to do because I knew I wouldn't be done for at least 30 minutes, but I couldn't make this guy in a wheelchair wait that long. So even though I wasn't done, I wiped, clenched my cheeks, opened the door, and then walked like this to the stall next to me. But the guy in the wheelchair made eye contact with me when I opened the door, and he just looked so disappointed in me. "I'm sorry, bro. I can't think logically when I'm constipated. It won't happen again, I promise." Isn't it crazy how girls will give such obvious hints when they like a guy, but we don't even realize it? Like, gentlemen, if a girl has ever asked you to open a bottle for her before, there's a reason. You think she actually can't open that bottle? Of course she can. She's just throwing you a layup. But what girls don't realize is that most of us men don't have a thought going on behind our head, so we don't realize this. Like one time a girl told me that she liked my jacket, so I was like, "Oh, thank you." But then she said, "It would probably look better on me though." So in my head, I was like, "Damn, that's mean. I thought I looked pretty good in the jacket myself." Like they try to make it so obvious that they're flirting, but we just don't get it. But this made me realize that everyone always thinks guys flirt way more than girls. That's not true. Girls flirt a lot. It just goes over our head most of the time. But anyone that's ever wondered why girls take so much longer to get ready than guys, I just figured it out. I was just taking a shower and I looked at my shampoo bottle randomly, and that was when I realized that it was a 6-in-1, meaning that it was a shampoo, conditioner, body wash, face wash, deodorizer, and moisturizer, all in one bottle. I'm pretty sure I could use this instead of gas to fill up my car. I talk about efficiency. But with girls, they have an insane amount of products. If you ever go into a bathroom that a girl uses, you will see that there's about 700 different bottles in there. Like I know a girl that literally uses a different product for each eyebrow. How does that work? I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that if a girl came over and she saw me using a 6-in-1 shampoo, she would get a restraining order against me. And you may say, "How are you not aware of this?" My mom buys all my stuff. I don't pay attention to that. I just use it. It is really efficient though. I might try brushing my teeth with it tomorrow. Never change your phone number, because I had to recently, and on the very first day of having this number, I started getting a bunch of texts from a random group chat of people I don't know. But over time, I realized that this was a family group chat, and my new number must have been one of the family members' old number. But they didn't know that, so sometimes I would purposely start drama in the family group chat whenever I was bored. Like after about a week, I knew all of their names, and I knew a little bit about each one of them. And one big thing that they would always text about in the group chat was their daughter Janessa, because Janessa was dating a boy that the rest of the family did not approve of. So one time, the group chat was pretty dry, so I just decided to send a text and say, "Janessa, how could you not tell us that you got engaged?" And immediately after sending this, the whole group chat just went crazy. Like family members were calling, texting, leaving the group, and Janessa literally just replied in all caps saying, "That is not true." But since the family didn't like the guy already, I think they kind of believed that this was something Janessa would do, so they didn't believe her. So at this point, I kind of felt bad and felt like I took it too far, so I just decided to tell everyone that I am not the person they think I am. And right away, they just kicked me out of the group chat. I was low-key hurt though, because I kind of felt like I was becoming a member of the family. But Janessa, I hope there's no hard feelings. I wish the best for you and your boyfriend. Have you ever met siblings that you know would date each other if they could? Because one day at school, I met this new guy and he told me to add him on social media, so I did. And then I clicked through his profile to look at his pictures, and I see a photo of a girl sitting on his lap, so I'm thinking, oh, he didn't tell me that he has a girlfriend. So I looked at the picture again, but then I looked at the person who he tagged in it, and that was when I saw that she had the same last name as him. So that was when I realized, oh my gosh, that's his sister. That's gross. But you know what makes this crazy? I went onto her profile to see if she had any weird pictures of them together too. And then I see a picture of her hugging a guy. So I'm like, oh, yep, another freaky pic with her brother. But no, it was the one thing that could have been worse than that. It was her boyfriend. And he looked exactly like her brother. She was dating the guy because he reminded her of her brother. That confirmed it for me. They definitely want to date each other. Why is it so much easier to flirt with people you don't like? Because when I'm around my friends, I have so much game. Like, I've had friends tell me before that they can't tell if I'm joking or not when I flirt with them because I'm so good at it. But if you get me around a person that I actually like, I'm cooked. I can no longer speak English. I start stuttering, sweating. It's awful. And if somehow I do manage to stop stuttering, I just say something weird like, you have nice earlobes. No, seriously, I've actually said that pickup line before. It didn't work. But what's even worse is when someone flirts with me because I don't know how to react. Girls have flirted with me before and I just start uncomfortably laughing or fart or something like that because my brain just shuts off in these situations. Be honest, guys, is it over for me? It's definitely over for me. You can always tell when someone is rich because they do not act like normal people. Like, there was one rich person I grew up with, and one time we were talking to each other on a Friday, and I was like, do you have any plans for the weekend? And he was like, oh, well, I've really been craving my favorite restaurant lately, so we're probably gonna go there tomorrow. So I said, that's cool. What's the name of the restaurant? And he says, La Sponda. So I was like, I've never heard of that place before. Where's that at? And you know what he says? With a straight face, he looks me in the eyes and says, Italy. We are in the United States having this conversation, by the way. And we also have school on Monday. So I'm like kind of laughing, waiting for him to crack a smile and say that it was a joke. But no, he was serious. This same person has asked me what temperature I like the sauna to be at. And I was like, I don't know, whatever temperature the gym has it as. Because that's the only place I have access to a sauna. And he was confused because he has a sauna in his house. But honestly, I don't think we're too far off from each other. I mean, he might be going to Italy for dinner. But when I go to McDonald's, I don't even have to order off the dollar menu anymore. How can people be in multiple talking stages at the same time? I don't get it because every time I've ever liked a girl, my whole day revolves around them. But somehow, you're able to handle that with 7 different girls at once? Like, talking stages are full-time jobs. And the funny thing is that I know people that will be like, ugh, it's so hard to keep all these girls entertained at the same time. Bro, no one is asking you to do that. Matter of fact, the girls would probably prefer it if you didn't. But the most crazy part is that if I'm in the talking stage, I'm already in love with the person. I started planning our future together, how many kids we're gonna have, before we even actually start dating. So to do that while talking to other people at the same time, I don't get it. I've also never been in a relationship before, so my opinion is irrelevant. Never compliment a British person because I just met a British person at a coffee shop and I embarrassed myself so badly because they walked in and we made eye contact with each other. So they smiled and said, what a lovely day out here, innit? But I didn't expect them to have an accent. So when they did, for some reason, my first instinct was to just talk in that exact same accent back to them. So then I was like, indeed, the weather is bloody gorgeous. But since we're in the US, when I said that, they were like, wait, you're British too? And I couldn't admit to them that I was literally just copying their accent or else they would have thought that I was mocking them. So I kept pretending to be British and I said, I am British. But then they said, really? Where are you from? But I panicked because I couldn't think of a city in England. So I was just like, think of a soccer team there. And I was like, I'm from Manchester. But then to my surprise, they were like, no, mate, I'm from Manchester. So I guess I was really trying to sell it, and for some reason I responded by saying, well then maybe we'll have to hit up the pub next time I'm back. And when I said that, he just laughed very Britishly. But I don't know why I did that. Something about British accents just makes me want to talk like that. Have you ever met someone that is obsessed with their ex? Like, they try to hide it, but it's so painfully obvious because I know someone that still follows his ex on all social media platforms, and every time she posts, he always says something about it. Like, she has a new boyfriend, and when she posted him for the first time, my friend was like, oh, I feel so bad for that guy. He doesn't even know she's crazy yet. Like my brother, she doesn't even follow you anymore. She doesn't care about you. If she's so crazy, why do you still follow everything she does? But how I know for sure that he still likes her is that she posted a picture on her story of a song she was listening to by Ice Spice. And the next day, I'm in this man's car, and tell me why he starts playing Ice Spice. You might say, that might just be a coincidence. A lot of people listen to Ice Spice. No, this man only listens to country. And last time I checked, Ice Spice is not singing about tractors. So yes, this man is obsessed. And I've tried to tell him to let it go. Like, I've literally been like, bro, she does not want you. Give it up. But he will not listen. Honestly, I feel bad for him. He's delusional. I hate my birthday for one reason, which is the fact that I know my friend is going to post the most embarrassing picture that could ever possibly be taken of me for the whole internet to see. Every year when it gets close to my birthday, I get super anxious because I know my friend is gonna post the most horrible picture ever and say, "Happy birthday, Tyler. Love you." No, you don't. If you actually loved me, you wouldn't post a picture of me sneezing with a 0.5 lens on. Like, you just ruined my birthday. But the scary thing is that they have a whole folder of pictures like this. Like, it's literally titled, Tyler Embarrassing Pics. What kind of FBI agent stuff is that? I don't even remember them taking half of these pictures, yet they have a whole vault of them. So to anyone that posts embarrassing pictures of their friends on their birthday, please stop. We can't take it anymore. The difference between male friendships and female friendships is crazy because one time at school, there was this group of girls that were all best friends, and one of these girls' birthday was coming up. So when that day came, the whole group all posted a bunch of pictures on their stories saying happy birthday, except for one girl. And in fact, this girl didn't even go to school that day. So when she came back the next day, she wasn't hanging out with those girls anymore. And it turns out that the rest of the group stopped being friends with her because she didn't say happy birthday. But you wanna know why she didn't say it? She was camping. She literally didn't have internet access, but I guess that wasn't a good enough excuse because they were not friends after that. This was so crazy to me though because most of my friends don't even know my birthday. Literally only one of my friends do. And he posts an embarrassing picture of me every time it comes. Honestly, I'm convinced some of my friends don't even know my last name. And I don't blame my friends for not knowing my birthday. I don't know theirs by heart. And I'm not saying that's a good thing either. I respect that girls care so much. I think siblings is crazy because you will do literally anything for them, but they'll also be your least favorite person on earth at the same time. Like when I was younger, I turned off my older brother's PlayStation mid-game because I wanted him to take me to my friend's house. And he got so mad that he started chasing me around the house. But then my mom saw him doing this and she made him stop. But in that moment, he told me that when I was least expecting it, he was gonna get revenge on me. So for the whole next year, I was living in fear, just waiting for the moment when he was gonna do something. I could barely sleep for a couple months because I thought that was when he was gonna make his move. But he never did make a move, which was almost more scary. But the funny thing is that during this same time period, I peed my pants at school one day, so people started to make fun of me and call me names. And it was pretty funny, to be honest, but I was super embarrassed. And my brother was the only person to stand up for me and tell everyone else to stop making fun of me. I'm not even kidding. It's like your siblings are Batman and Joker at the same time. Gen Z people will literally quit their job over anything because when I was working at a fast food restaurant, we had this new guy one day and he was telling me about how he really needed some money because he was in a lot of debt, so he wanted to work a lot of hours. But he also said this was his first job in the food industry, so one of my coworkers had to teach him how to make fries in the fryer. And then after about 20 minutes of learning, he had it down, so my coworker let him do it on his own. But after about 10 minutes of him doing it on his own, he walks up to the cash register, puts his name tag on the counter, and he says, "Guys, I quit." So we were like, "Why?" And he said, "My face is all greasy for making the fries. I don't want to do this for 8 hours, and I already smell." And then he just walked out the door, and I have never seen him since. When he walked out, me and all my coworkers just looked at each other, and I could tell we were all thinking the exact same thing, which was, damn, he's kind of got a point. He had us thinking about if we should leave too. Sadly, none of us did, but I still think about where that guy's at today. Probably a CEO if I had to guess. Does anyone else have a friend that's late to literally everything? And that's not even an exaggeration because my friend doesn't have his license, so anytime we want to do anything, I have to pick him up. So you would think, since I'm doing this favor, he would always be ready to go on time. Right? Wrong, because whenever I leave my house, I text him saying that I'm on my way, and he'll respond right away. So then when I'm like 2 minutes away, I'll text him again saying that I'm here. But when I send that text saying that I've arrived, for some reason in his head, that's the signal for him to start getting ready. He doesn't even get out of bed until I send that text. So I literally have to wait outside of his house for at least 20 minutes before he's actually ready. But there's been times where I would have to wait a really long time, so I would FaceTime him, and he would literally be in the shower. Like, why didn't you do that before? Or another time I FaceTimed him after waiting a while, and he was heating up the stove to make chili. Bro, I've been waiting outside of your house for 2 hours, and you're revving up the fryers? At this point, I've just accepted it though, because you can't change him. You can't. Ever wear headphones in public? Because I just got these yesterday, so I wanted to test them out and listen to music while I was at the library studying. So that's what I did. I went to the library, I put these headphones on, and I pressed a button on them, which made a noise. So I thought that meant that these connected to my phone. So to test out the sound on them, I wanted to play music. So I opened my music app and I typed in the first artist I could think of, which was Justin Bieber. And I click on the first song that pops up, which was Baby. So I start listening to the song and I'm thinking, man, these do not sound very good. So I was like, well, maybe I just need to turn it up louder. So I did, but the quality was still bad. So then I was thinking, well, maybe it's just that specific song. So let's try playing another song on these and see if it sounds better. So I pressed the next song and it was Boyfriend by Justin Bieber. But that song also kind of sounded weird on these headphones. So at that point I was like, okay, well, I guess these just aren't good quality. And I took them off. And that was when I realized that this whole time, the headphones were not even connected to the phone. The music was just playing out loud. And I look around the library and every time I make eye contact with someone, they just look away quickly. So I know they were looking at me. And listen, I think Bieber is a good artist, but bumping Baby and Boyfriend in the library is not something I would normally do. So I'm never going back to that library, but hey, At least these headphones aren't as bad as I thought. Old people do not like Gen Z, and I realized this the other day when I was at the gym with my friend, and I just finished my workout, so I literally just said the words, "I'm tired." And there was this man on the machine next to me that looked about 70 years old, and he must have heard me saying that because right after I said it, he literally reacted like this. And I just ignored it at first, but then he kept looking at me, so I was finally like, "Hey, can I help you?" And he was like, "Yeah, you say you're tired?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "From what? Sitting down?" And he said this because I was sitting on a bench talking to my friend, so then I was just like, "Yeah, that's why I'm tired." But then he said, "You don't know what tired is. Your generation is lazy." Listen, Unc, I do not care. I don't care that you had to climb Mount Everest to get to school every day. I don't care that you had to work 26 hours a day in the coal mines. I do not care. Like, all that stuff is cool, but what do you want? A cookie? You just want to tell me how much more productive you were when you were my age? Cool, but I don't care. But shout out to the old people who aren't like this because I know most of them are nice. This was probably my fault anyway, to be honest. I should just probably stop arguing with old people and kids. Do not make eye contact with people during a conversation. Because I just had a conversation with someone and I'm normally really bad at keeping eye contact, so I've been trying to get better at it. But during this conversation, I concentrated so hard on making eye contact with them that I completely forgot to listen to anything they said. So I looked super engaged because I was staring through their soul, but I didn't comprehend a word. But this was a big mistake because when the conversation was over, they said, "So what do you think I should do?" I said, "About what?" And they said, "What I just told you about." So I had to admit to them that I didn't hear a word they said the whole time, so it's just not worth it to make eye contact. I can't focus on two things at once, and this is probably what I look like anyway. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Why do old people not get embarrassed about anything? Like, even things that they should get embarrassed about, they don't, because my friend had a grandpa named Jim who lived with him, and the things Jim did without getting embarrassed amazed me. Like, one time we went to go eat, and we're at our table, and the waitress walks up to us, super nice girl, by the way, and she says, "Hey, how are we all doing tonight?" And without even answering the question, Grandpa Jim goes, "Your breath is horrible. Take a mint." And he pulls out a pack of mints out of his pocket. Obviously, she declined the mint, but after she went away, Grandpa Jim's daughter was like, "Dad, why did you say that?" And he goes, "Because her breath smelled horrible." I mean, yeah, that checks out, I guess. But Grandpa Jim was really old, so sometimes he would just pee his pants, but his family would question whether he did it on accident or on purpose, because when he did it, he would literally have no reaction. Like, you could be staring at him and see his pants just slowly start to get darker, and he would just be unfazed. Honestly though, Grandpa Jim was an inspiration to me because he made me aspire to be as unbothered about life as he was. Still feel bad for that waitress though. Nobody talks about the difference between how parents treat the oldest child versus the youngest child. Because I'm the youngest one in my family, and my older brother would always tell me stories about how strict our parents were when he was growing up. Like, if my brother tried to have a couple friends over at the house, they would say absolutely not. But while I was growing up, my parents would go on like a 2-day vacation and they leave me at the house alone, and my dad would literally be like, "Why don't you throw a party while we're gone?" And I'd be like, "What? I don't want to do that." And he would be like, "Yeah, do it. All the kids at school will think you're super cool." And then he would say, "Just don't bring over 200 people. Dad, I don't even know 200 people. Now that I think of it, he was probably begging me to do this because he thought that I had no friends. But that's not even the craziest part, because when I was growing up, if I wanted anything, my parents would get it. Like, they bought me a car right when I got my license, and I didn't even ask for it. And I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're so privileged." I know, you're right, it's crazy. Because when my older brother got his license, he had to drive a 15-year-old car that had no air conditioning, the windows were broken, and one wheel would occasionally fall off. Did I deserve a new car more than my brother? No, I didn't deserve any of this. It was like my parents hit the lottery right before I started growing up, and they just didn't tell anyone. This is why being the youngest child is the best. Am I the only one that thinks it's insane that every single person on earth has their own lives? Like, if you've ever been in a busy area and you look around, the thought of all those people experiencing their own reality at the exact same time as you is crazy. But this always makes me think, what is everyone spending their time doing? Because in this moment that I'm talking to you, all these other people are living their own lives at the same time. So what are they all doing? If I had to guess what they're doing right now, it's probably playing Block Blast. I say this because Block Blast is such a good way to pass the time. But thinking about the fact that everyone has their own lives brings so much anxiety for no reason, because there's so many people. Like, there's no way that all of them are actually real. This is why I genuinely believe that some people are NPCs. I mean, at this point, I might be one. I don't know. This stresses me out. Luckily, Block Blast is so good at relieving stress. Block Blast makes blocks fun again. So if you want to relieve all your stress, download Block Blast. Why are school nurses so bad at their job? Like, there's no way they are actual nurses, because I remember one time at recess, me and a couple other kids were playing on the playground, and one kid fell off the bars and his arm bent the wrong way. So you could literally see his bone sticking out of his arm, and the kid started screaming. So me and another guy took him to the office. And when we got there, you know what the nurse did? She was like, "Okay, wait, let me get something for you." And she walks into the room next door and comes back with an ice pack and says, "Here, use this." What do you mean, use this? My guy's bone was sticking out of his arm, and you want him to put an ice pack on that? Not every injury can be solved with an ice pack, Gretchen. This man needs to have surgery. Call a real hospital! Doc McStuffins would be doing a better job than you at this point. And I'm sure that not all school nurses were like this, but at least at my school, the nurse would literally give an ice pack for every injury. Oh, you have a headache? Here's an ice pack. Oh, your stomach hurts? Here's an ice pack. Oh, your humerus is sticking out of your arm? Here's an ice pack. Have you ever heard of someone's pet passing away in such a ridiculous way that you just could not believe it? Because I was just in New York last week, so I was taking the subway everywhere. And if you know anything about the subway there, it's crazy. And while I was on the subway, someone else got on with a pet bird on their shoulder. No cage, no nothing. It was just chilling on her shoulder. But then someone asked if the bird's wings were clipped or something, and she was like, no, it's just really well trained and would never fly away. But then the subway stopped, and right as the doors opened, the bird flew out as fast as it could. But the door shut again before the girl could go out and chase it. And the next stop wasn't for another 2 miles. So it would have taken her like 20 minutes to get back to where the bird flew out. So I don't know if the bird actually passed away or not, but I'm pretty confident it did because this happened on a subway in New York. So there's a really strong chance that one of the 35-pound rats that look like they take Compound V ate it. One thing I will never understand is how some people just cannot walk straight. Like I have friends who I literally refuse to walk next to on the sidewalk because if I do, I'll get hit by a car from them shoving me into the road. They don't do it on purpose, they just simply don't know how to walk straight. But something like this has actually happened before with my friend where we were walking next to each other by a train station and there's like a 3-foot drop off from where you're supposed to walk and where the train tracks are. But because my friend doesn't know how to walk straight, he literally fell onto the tracks. I mean, it's a good thing there wasn't a train going by at the moment, but how do you even do that? And it's not like they were on their phone and just not paying attention. No. They just veered off into the train tracks. I'm scared to let them go outside by themselves because I don't trust that they can walk without getting hit. Whether that's hit by a car, hit by a stop sign, something, they're gonna get hit. I don't get it. Just walk straight. It's not that hard. You can always tell when a guy is in his first relationship because out of nowhere, that man will know how to dress. Like I had a friend who had never been in a relationship before and he was literally the type of guy that would wear neon green shirts and shorts to school. Yes, like at the same time. And he would pull his socks halfway up to his shins, but he did this because he genuinely thought it was cool. Well, fast forward to today, and all of a sudden this guy looks like he's fresh out of a GQ magazine. Like he's wearing stuff like Carhartt, Hollister, and I can guarantee you that he did not even know that brand existed last week. So I knew something was up. And when I asked him about it, he said, well, I've been talking to this girl, and I just made him stop right there. Because I knew at that moment that that girl gave him a full wardrobe change. Like, I just know she threw out everything he used to wear because his closet literally used to look like a rainbow sherbet ice cream. I kind of wish we would bring back the neon clothes, though. I'm sick of trying to look mysterious. Never bring your crush around your friends because they will ruin your chances. And I say this because one time I really liked this girl and I usually never make it to the stage where I'll introduce the girl to my friends. So the one time I did, it went horribly because the whole time my friends would just make jokes around her saying stuff to me like, bro, you looking mad cute today. And then another friend said, why don't you tell your girl what we do together when we're alone? And the girl giggled a little bit at first and she was like, what do you guys do? And I was like, nothing. I don't know what they're talking about. But then my friends were like, oh, come on, don't be embarrassed. And I kept telling her, I don't know what they're talking about. But because she's not familiar with the sarcasm of my friend group, she started to think they were actually being serious. And she was like, wait, do you guys all like each other? And I tried to respond by saying no, but I started stuttering and I got really red. So I'm pretty sure she thought I was lying. And once you make a first impression like that, you're cooked. What do you say after kissing somebody? Like kissing somebody for the first time is already so awkward. And the only thing I can think of to say is thank you because I appreciate that they wanted to kiss me. But I know that if I said that, I would never get a second kiss. I asked someone I know who kisses a new person like every single day what I should say after kissing someone, and he was just like, just say whatever feels right. By the way, stay away from that man, ladies. But anyways, in my head, what feels right is to try to break the awkwardness of the kiss by saying something funny. So next time after a kiss, I'm gonna just be like this. You kiss way better than my sister. Is that a good idea? No? Okay. I mean, luckily this isn't a big problem for me anyways, because to actually kiss a woman, you have to approach them, and I'm scared to do that. But if that time ever does come, I'm cooked. Never fall asleep with your phone in your bed, because last night, I was streaming videos from my phone onto the TV, and I fell asleep. But then around 2 a.m., I wake up, and a video of those people that build houses in the forest in like 2 days was playing, so I turned it off and went back to sleep. Or at least that's what I thought I did. But I was like half asleep, so apparently I didn't do that because when I woke up in the morning, I checked my phone and I had a message from someone that I haven't talked to in 3 years. And the last time we spoke, we got into a big argument. That's why we haven't talked. So I clicked on their message and it was just 2 question marks. That's weird, I thought, until I scrolled up a little bit and I saw that at 2:34 a.m., I sent them the video of those people that build houses in the forest. How did I go from thinking I turned my phone off to sending a message to someone I haven't talked to in 3 years? I have no idea, but I didn't know what to respond to them with, so I just did it. So can someone please tell me what I should say to not make this awkward? And I still don't get how they build those houses. Have you ever noticed that Gen Z is aging horribly? And I have proof because I was just at Popeyes and I walk up to the cashier to tell them my order and I'm trying to be polite, so I say, hey, how are you doing? And they respond with, not good. I hate this job. I didn't expect them to answer it truthfully, but since they did, I was like, oh, well, why do you not like it? And he said, does anyone like their job? But he looks pretty old, so I was trying to think of a way to cheer him up. So I was like, oh, well, are you at least retiring anytime soon? And he gives me a weird look and goes, how old do you think I am? I knew by his reaction that I messed up asking that question, so I didn't want to answer, so I was just like, I don't know, how old are you? And he goes, I'm 26. Dog, I thought he was at least 50! I was about to ask him what it was like when Abraham Lincoln was president. Meanwhile, this guy is barely old enough to rent a car. But it's not just this guy. I've seen so many people under the age of 30 that look like they grew up with Queen Elizabeth. Why does everyone in this generation look so old? What are we gonna look like when we're actually 50? Nobody talks about how girls and guys take compliments very differently. Because if a girl gets complimented, they might feel good about it for a couple minutes, or maybe not at all, depending on who says the compliment. But for guys, or at least for me, if you give me a compliment, I will remember it for the rest of time. And that's not even a joke, because when I was in 3rd grade, a girl told me that I have pretty eyes. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I almost pulled out a ring pop on the spot and asked her to marry me. And I still think about that compliment today. Literally for a whole year after she gave me this compliment, I would walk around school like this, just trying to show my eyes off. What's up, guys? How's it going? Oh, hey, Jared, how you doing? Like, I finally understood why those blue-eyed people always stare at you as if they could see into your future. But it got to the point where it made my teacher so uncomfortable that one day, she told me to go sit outside a classroom until I was ready to act normal again. So what did I do? I stared into her eyes even more. No, I'm just kidding, I didn't do that. I went outside, cried for a couple minutes, then came back inside and never opened my eyes wide again. Have you ever met someone that's super bold over text, but the complete opposite in person? Because when I'm texting someone, I feel like I'm Brad Pitt with some of the stuff I'll say. Like one time I texted a girl saying that I was gonna give her the time of her life next time I saw her in person. What does that mean? I don't know. But I was definitely lying, because the next time I saw her in person, this is what I did. But the moment I see you in person, I start shaking in my boots. And the worst part about being super bold over text, but not the same in person, is that the girl will start to think you're messing with her on purpose. But I'm not trying to, I promise. I just don't know how to form a sentence when I see a girl I like in real life. Now that I think about it, this is probably why I used to have so many girlfriends on Roblox. What am I doing with my life? Have you ever met someone that doesn't know how to show affection? Like, you can't tell if they just had the best day of their life or the worst day of their life, because either way, they're the exact same. Like, my friend that goes to Harvard is like this, and I was there when he opened his letter to see if he got in or not, and we all thought he got denied, because when he opened his letter, this was literally his reaction. Oh. He quite possibly just got the best news of his whole life, and his reaction was to slightly shake his head and say, oh? But this is where it gets crazy, because he's the exact same way when something bad happens too. One time he missed a day of school, so the next day when he was back, I asked him why he was gone. And he literally just replied by saying, my grandma died. What? Dog, it's okay to cry a little bit, or at least act a little sad. You don't always have to be nonchalant. But it's not like he's even trying to act tough. This is just how he naturally is. Like, you should see this guy when he's on a roller coaster. This is literally how he is. Ever let your friends hang out at your house? Always go to their house instead, because last time my friends came to my house, I got horribly embarrassed at school the next day, because right when you walk into the kitchen at my house, there's a super embarrassing picture of me in 5th grade wearing a clown outfit on the refrigerator. So when my friends saw this, you know what they did? They decided to take a picture of it and send it to a bunch of people at school without me knowing. So the next day, I'm at school minding my own business, and someone shows me this picture, so I'm like, how did you get that? But then another person shows me the picture, and then I'm like, uh-oh. I know what's going on here. But it got even worse, because not only did everyone at school see my picture, it started to become such a big meme that people were literally making it their screensaver on their phone. Like, I couldn't go anywhere without seeing this photo. Even the dang lunch lady had it as her screensaver. Okay, maybe that part's not true. But anyways, if you ever have your friends over at your house, hide all your pictures or you will regret it. Does anyone else's mom just tell random people your darkest secrets for no reason? Because I love my mom, but I don't tell her secrets anymore, because the moment I do, I know that she'll go down Hollywood Boulevard with a megaphone and tell everyone else. And it's not like she's trying to be mean. I think all moms just naturally do this. But it gets even worse, because not only will she tell other people my secrets, but she'll slightly change the story to make it sound more embarrassing. Like one time I was at dinner with my mom and her friend has a 2-year-old boy. So she kept complaining about how her son is always wetting the bed. And you want to know what my mom said back? She says, oh, that's normal. Tyler wet the bed until he was 14. First of all, that's not true. I stopped wetting the bed when I was like a lot younger. But one night when I was 14, I drank too much water before bed and I ended up wetting the bed that night. But second of all, why would you tell them that? She wasn't even asking about me. You initiated that. Like, I get that you want to relate to her, but at what cost? And if you're gonna tell everyone my business, the least you could do is not make it sound worse than it is. I can't even blame her though, because she doesn't do it on purpose. I'm just tired of her accidentally cooking me. Ever go through your girlfriend or boyfriend's phone? Because my friend used to date this girl, and one day, we were all eating together, and she went to the bathroom, but she left her phone on the table with her Snapchat open. So as a joke, my friend picked up her phone and posted a story on her Snapchat with the caption, "Who wants to hang out?" And literally within 30 seconds of posting that, you could hear her ringtone go off once, then twice, then 3 times, then 4 times, then 5 times, and it kept going. So he checked the phone to see who was replying, and guess what? It was literally all guys that we went to school with. After about 3 minutes, she literally had 20 guys that responded saying they wanted to hang out. But you know what the worst part was? She had a streak with almost all of them. She was snapping these dudes every day. Now, does that mean she was actually doing something with them? Probably not. But do you think it's weird to snap other people when you're in a relationship? Or is that okay? Because if that was my girlfriend, you know what I would do? I would tell her it's okay, and then go home and cry myself to sleep every night. Why are parents so dramatic over text? Like just yesterday, I got a text from my mom that said, "Just know I'll always love you, ... That's a little weird to randomly text someone, but I didn't think anything more of it until she sent another text saying, "It's too late." So at this point, I'm like, okay, my mom is clearly crying out for help. So I call her with my heart beating out of my chest, and I'm like, "Mom, are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, honey, why?" So I'm like, cause you just sent me a text that made it sound like I'm never gonna see you again. And she goes, "Oh no, I'm okay." So then I say, "Then what did you mean when you said, it's too late?" And she goes, "Oh, I was saying it's too late to make dinner. Can you pick something up on your way home?" Out of all the possible ways you could have said, "It's too late to make dinner," how did you say it in the worst way possible? Like, are parents just allergic to giving context when texting people? If you told me two people were texting me, and you said one of them was my mom, and the other one was Ghostface from the Scream movies, I wouldn't be able to tell a difference, because they type the exact same. Like, I shouldn't be getting goosebumps from casually texting my parents. Never name a group chat with your friends something weird, because one time, my friends were sending a bunch of messages in our group chat, but I was taking a nap, so I didn't hear any of the notifications. But my mom did. So after hearing the notification sound go off like 20 times, she decided to look at my phone to see why it was making so much noise. And after she did, she woke me up and she was like, "Tyler, why do you keep getting a bunch of notifications from Jeffrey Dahmer's refrigerator?" And I was like, "They're my friend's mom," but she doesn't really know much about Jeffrey Dahmer. So when I explained to her that he used to put some weird things in his fridge, my mom was like, "Why would you name your group chat after that?" And how am I supposed to explain to someone over the age of 35 why young people give group chats weird names like this? So I was just like, "Honestly, Mom, I don't know." Why are 911 operators so calm? Like, I just saw this video where a lady was literally being chased by someone with a machete. And she was on the 911 call like, "Help, help, they're chasing me, please hurry." And the operator was just like, "Okay, ma'am, can you tell me your name?" What? Like, if I was the 911 operator right there, I would be like, "A machete? Run, girl, run!" And trust me, I know they're calm on purpose, but I feel like if I was being chased by someone and the only response I got was, "What's your name?" I would be even more stressed because, like, do you even care? The operators talk as if you just interrupted something that they were doing. Like, in one of the videos, I could hear the operator yawn. Imagine running for your life and the 911 operator yawns. You're cooked. You're cooked. If there's one group of people you don't want to run into in public, it's a pack of little kids, because when they're together, they're more dangerous than I am when I'm near a crumble cookie. Because they will roast you in ways that you could never even think of. Like the other day, I'm just going for a walk, minding my own business, and I walked past this elementary school. But it happened to be the exact time where the kids were getting out. So as I'm walking by, I see a pack of them look at me. So I look down because I don't want any problems with them. But their group leader must have looked at me and saw that I have bags under my eyes, because he said, "Hey, did the lemurs kick you out of your pack?" And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "You look like a lemur." And he said this because lemurs have circles around their eyes. So his friend started laughing, and I wanted to say a comeback of something like, "You only know what a lemur is from watching Madagascar." But I froze, and instead, I just started laughing with them, and I think this kind of confused them, because when I did that, they all stopped, and then they gave me a weird judgmental look like, "What's wrong with this guy?" And that was pretty much the end of the interaction, but it stinks because I literally had to change the path that I take for walks every day because I don't want to go in these kids' territory anymore. Ever had a moment where you realized you were turning into your parents? Because I was just driving my little cousin home, and we passed by a Taco Bell, so he went, "Ooh, can we get Taco Bell?" And you want to know what I said? I was like, "No, we have food at home." Why would I say that? That's my parents' line. And the crazy part is, I love Taco Bell. Like, when we were driving by it, I was also thinking, "Oh, Taco Bell sounds really good right now." So when I finally realized that I was acting like an unk, you know what I did? I told my cousin, "Yeah, actually, we can go to Taco Bell." And I made a U-turn, and we went to Taco Bell. But this isn't the first time I've felt like I was turning into my parents, because I had to ask this same cousin what skibbity meant, because I had no idea. Like, what's next? Am I gonna start texting people with my index finger? I'm becoming such an unk, and I'm scared. Nobody talks about the difference between girls' sleepovers and boys' sleepovers, because at a boys' sleepover, you cannot fall asleep. Like, it's not safe. Especially if you're the first one to fall asleep, because I remember this one time, I went to a sleepover at my friend's house, and he had this fake leg prop for a Halloween costume, but it looked pretty real. So when our first friend fell asleep, we got the fake leg, put it right next to his real leg, so it almost looked like his actual leg, and we woke him up very softly. But right as his eyes started to open, my other friend, who had his dad's sledgehammer in his hand, smashed the fake leg, and the guy that was sleeping woke up screaming, because he genuinely thought that was his real leg getting smashed. After he realized it wasn't his real leg, he got up, went to the kitchen, got an energy drink, and chugged it, because he knew he could not fall asleep again that night. But everyone else was terrified after this to fall asleep too, so we all just stayed up the whole night. It was the best and worst night of my life. But at a girl's sleepover, they're like just having fun, right? They're lighting candles, they're gossiping, they're having pillow parties. Why can't our sleepovers be more like that? Having a crush is so much better than actually being in a relationship, because when you have a crush, there's no downsides. It's just pure delusion. Like when I have a crush, every day I wake up and try to look as good as possible, just so that when I see them at school, I can pretend that they're looking back at me and thinking, "Oh my gosh, look at Tyler, he's so hot." Now in reality, they probably don't even see me. And if they do, they're running the opposite way. But that's okay, because having a crush is about pure delusion. But there's one big downside to this, because I love the feeling of having a crush so much that I never actually talk to the girls. Because I just want to keep that perfect delusional scenario going in my head. And for some reason, I always just think that somehow me and my crush will start dating without me actually having to approach them. I mean, it hasn't worked yet, but if that is actually possible, please someone tell me, because I'm getting very desperate. You know how teachers always say, that won't fly in college? Well, that is absolutely not true, because one time in high school, my teacher caught me taking notes with AI. Like, this is all it is. It literally just takes notes for you. Like, what harm can it do? Make me study better with beautiful notes or something? So she took my phone away and she was like, they wouldn't let you use this in college, so I'm not gonna let you use it here. Now, I don't know if she went to college in the 1800s or if she was just lying, because on the first day that I had of college, I walk into the classroom, go up to the professor, and I say, is it okay if I use this app to take notes? And he literally responded by saying, dude, I don't even care if you show up to class. Just make sure you turn the assignments in on time. And I was so glad to hear that, because I would literally be failing all my classes if I couldn't use this app. Because my teachers talk super fast, and this app records literally everything they say. So I can play back later and listen to it at my own speed. Like, I saw someone with these in their notes just the other day. Everyone's using it. But not only that, it turns your lectures into notes, so it can help you study later. It's called Turbo Learn in the App Store, by the way, if you want to use it. It's a really cool tool. So if your teacher ever says, that won't fly in college, don't believe them. Money doesn't buy happiness has to be the worst quote ever created, because it literally does. And it's always rich people saying it. They'll be like, my life was actually way better when I was poor. Oh yeah? Then give me your money! Like, if you miss being poor, then just give away your money. It's not hard to do. But I just know someone will be like, actually, I agree with that quote, because the stuff in life that really makes you happy is things that you can't buy, like family and love. And to those people, I say, do you know what the only thing my parents argue about is? Money! You can't be happy with your family if you can't feed them. How are you gonna spend time with the people that make you happy if you can't, because you're spending all your time working to make money? Have you ever heard of anyone not being happy while on a yacht? No? Me neither, because being on a yacht is awesome. Even if it was possible to be sad on a yacht, I would much rather be sad there than in a one-bedroom apartment with no air conditioning. So if any rich people out there want to prove to me that money doesn't buy happiness, let me know.
ফাইনাল ডিসিশন লয়ে লইছি আজকে রাতে কিন্তু আপনার লগে ঘুমামু
আমার লগে কেন বাজান আপনি আমার লগে ঘুমাইবেন কেন
জিন্দেগি তুই এইটা আর পোষাইতে পারবি না বাজার তোর আমি সাজিয়ে দিতাছি তুই জলদি
ক্যাচে লাগাইছে
মা তুই এক কাম কর জামাই লইয়া শ্বশুরবাড়ি জাগা ওন মা শ্বশুর
এই তো একেবারে বাঘের বাচ্চা
ফুদি দে
আচ্ছা বাঘের মতন যাবি
আমি কইতাছি ওখানে খুইলা আসো নালে আমি তাই না ছিড়া ফেলামু কইলাম
আমার খানদানি পোশাক তুমি তাই না ছিঁড়া ফেলাইবা
আমার ফোন দাও
নিবা আমারে কইছো বন্ধুর লগে কথা কও তুমি তো এঞ্জেল সোনিয়ার লগে কথা কও কি
তারপর বউরে দিয়া হাত পাটি পাইছে এর বাদে বউরে কইছে পানি লয়ে আহো বউ পানি লয়ে আইছে এই পানি দিচ্ছে ফালায়া
আম্মা আব্বা রুডি সুরত দেখছেন রুডি এরকম তেরে বাগা খেলা হ্যাঁ রুডি সুন্দর আব্বা আমারে না হয় তুমি বুঝাইলা তুমি তোমার খানদানের কি বুঝাইবা আমার আত্মীয় স্বজনের কি বুঝাইবা
আমি দুঃখিত
বইয়ের হাতে মার খাওয়া চলে তাই কিছু কই নাই কা
আমার খানদানে জামাই মারনের নিয়ম নাই কা
তুই আমার এখান থেকে যাবি না মানে কি অক্ষণ তুই বাইরে হবি
আব্বা
কুইল যে কাপে না
ওই বেটা ওই তোর কইল জায়গা না মিছা কথা কইতে হ্যাঁ হারাম খোর জানি কোনানকার
মাগার মারামারিতে 1 নম্বর
আমি পারি এখন মনটা চাইতেছে তোমার কান্দের উপর চড়ায় একটা আসান মারি
ঠিক আছে ভাই তাহলে আমার মুখ চুপ বন্ধ থাকবো আর কেউ আমি কিছু কমু না মুখে কষ্ট
এখন লাইনে আইছস রুটি ঠান্ডা গেলা?
রুটি ঠান্ডা?
ঠান্ডা মানে আব্বা বরফের লাহান ঠান্ডা, এইটা রুটি।
শ্বশুর আব্বা আপনারে আপ্যায়ন করে নাই, খাতির যত্ন করে নাই।
না আব্বা আমি
বিলাই মারার রাত আজকা আজকা যদি তুই ঠিক মতো দামকে দিবার মানুষ বাইরে গেছিস গা, নাহলে বললাম সারা।
আর দোস্ত বাগও আছে, ওগো খানদান আর আমাগো খানদান এক না, অদ্ভুত কিছু নিয়ম কানুন পালন করতে যাইয়া তোমার বাড়ি।
তুমি কইতেছোটা কি? আমগোর খানদানের পোলা পাইন যদি একবার ঘর জামাই হয়ে যায় গা, ওরা তোর খানদানে ফেরত যাবার পারে না।
আমি আব্বা আমারে বুঝামো।
কি বুঝাইবা তুমি?
হয় নাই কা, তুমি আমারে বুঝাইতে পারতাম, আমারে মারলা। অবশ্য আমগো বংশে
গাছকে এইসব হইতেছে। আব্বা আমি কই যাবো আব্বা, আপনি আমার প্যারা ড্যাডি আব্বা।
তুই আমার দাঁড়াবি না, দূরে থাক দূরে থাক।
আমি খাটে ঘুমাচ্ছিলাম, আমার লাথি মেরে খাটে হালায় ভাইজান লেটে লেটে সারে ঘুমাইছে।
হারামজাদা মিছে কথা কস্তুর।
বউয়ের সেবা সুন্দর করে না করতে পারলে জামাই পিটানোর রেওয়াজও আছে। আই তুমি কুস্তি পারো?
না
জি ভাইজান, ভাবি ফালতু খানদানে কইলাম আজকে তো আপনার বাসর ভাই।
ফাইনাল ডিসিশন লয়ে লইছি, আজকে রাতে কিন্তু আপনার লগেই ঘুমাবো।
আমার লগে কেন বাজান? আপনি আমার লগে ঘুমাইবেন কেন?
জিন্দেগি তুই এইটা আর পোষাইতে পারবি না। বাজার তোর আমি সাজিয়ে দিতাছি তুই জলদি।
ক্যাচে লাগাইছে।
মা তুই এক কাম কর, জামাই লইয়া শ্বশুর বাড়ি জাগা। ওন মা শ্বশুর
এই তো একেবারে বাঘের বাচ্চা।
ফুদি দে।
আচ্ছা বাঘের মতন যাবি।
তুমি বাসে আসার পর থেকে আমাকে বাসে শান্তি সব চলে লাগেছে।
আয় হায় খাইছে করছোটা কি তুমি?
তুমি একটা ভিডিও কল করে পাঠাও প্লিজ প্লিজ। কবে আমগো দেখা
কোচিনটা কি এটা আব্বার লগে এমন চিপা মাইটা দিয়েছেন? ও কেমন ঠান্ডান বউ। তারপর তো ভয় কাঁচে মুচু খায়া গেছে গা, তারপর আবার দুর্নাম করতে হইব। এই তোর কি তোর দামি ফোন?
আইসে বাজান রাইতে ঠিকঠাক মতো ঘুমাইছে তো, নাকি বাসায় গিয়া আব্বাজান রে কইবেন?
কি করছো যেটা তুই? বাজার রে বাজার যাও চলছে আজকাই করছে।
সম্মান সব পঞ্চার করে দিছে।
মাগার দোষ আমারও আছে, আমি একটু বেশি বাড়াবাড়ি করে ফেলছি। চলো না আমরা বাড়িতে ফিরে যাই।
তুমি কি পাগল হয়ে গেছো নি? এইটাই আমার বাড়ি এখনতে।
চৌধুরী সাহেবের সাথে আমি কি কথা কইছি? তুমি কোনো কথাই কই নাই কা? সাজান তোমারে কইলো এত
দিচ্ছেন, হ্যাঁ দিচ্ছেন না? এলা বাইরন, আমার বাড়িতে বাইরন।
একবারে হাসা করছেন আব্বাজান। আপনার পোলার এই বাড়ি থাকার কোনো বিতলামি করলে আমি তোরা ঘাড়াই, কিন্তু ভাবলাম আপনাকে একমাত্র পোলা গাড়াইলে আবার দিলে চোট পাই।
দিতাছো তুমি?
শোনো, তোমাগো খানদানে যেমন কিছু নিয়ম আছে আমাগো খানদানেও আছে।
এইসব ফাত্রা নিয়ম কেউ যেন জানবার না পারে, মনে থাকবো তো? তোর যে নতুন বাবি